Hi friends, it's Miss Emily from the main library here. Welcome back to my house and thank you for joining me. So today I would like to work with you and talk to you a little bit about the scientific method and to do that through an experiment. Now, I don't know about you, but every day whenever I'm doing things, my mind asks a lot of questions. A lot of why, how. I'm very curious about the world around me. I'm guessing you are too. The other day, I was cleaning my house with vinegar. I use that a lot in my house for cleaning. And I noticed that the vinegar, when I poured it, has a lot of bubbles. And I was wondering why the vinegar had bubbles and what happened when those bubbles interacted with different surfaces. And I thought that that would be a great time for you and I to talk about the scientific method and work through it together. Now, some of you may know the definition of the scientific method, but let's talk about it and some of the steps for a moment. So, for those of you that don't know, the scientific method is a series of steps used to collect information, solve problems, or answer questions. The first step in the scientific method is one that most people do naturally, and that is to ask a question. And that's what I did. I started the scientific method without even really thinking about it. And I asked myself, why does the vinegar have bubbles? And what do those bubbles do when they interact with different surfaces and objects? The second step in the scientific method is to do some background research. So I went on the computer and looked at some of the credible scientific sites that I know, and I found out that vinegar is an acid. And what that means is every substance in the universe, so this table, vinegar, my t-shirt, me, you, is composed of hundreds of thousands of atoms, molecules, and ions. All these little things compose every part of us. So a substance is considered acidic when it contains a large amount of an element called hydrogen. So acids are very good. They've got a lot of hydrogen ions, and what that means is that they're very good at giving some of that hydrogen to other materials. This can cause different things. It can mean that something is bitter or tart, like orange juice. Orange juice is acidic. But what it also means is that it can dissolve things, which is one of the reasons vinegar is used in cleaning, is it dissolves things like dirt and grime, etc. So, step 3 in the scientific method, after you've done a little bit of research and know a little bit more, is to form a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is just an idea that you test through experimentation. So we all have different ideas, but if you want to see if it's true or could be true, you have to test it out, right? So today we're going to test out a hypothesis that we have, that vinegar, the acid in vinegar, when it interacts with certain objects such as eggshells, will dissolve those. The fourth step of the scientific method is to test your hypothesis with an experiment. So that's what we're going to do today. For this experiment, you can do this at home with me if you'd like. We need white vinegar from the grocery store, a jar, and a simple egg. First step, we're going to put the egg in the jar carefully, make sure it doesn't crack. I have a mason jar. And then we're going to pour the vinegar into the jar. So, if you look closely, you can probably see some bubbles. You see all those bubbles? So what those bubbles mean is that the acid in the vinegar and the egg are interacting. Now, some acids are super quick to dissolve or interact with other substances, and those are the more dangerous acids. Those are the ones that we don't use. Vinegar that we buy from the grocery store is mainly water with just a little bit of vinegar. So because of that, it's going to take this longer to dissolve the eggshell. We are going to leave this for 24 hours and see what happens. So set this somewhere in your house, 24 hours, somewhere it's not going to spill, no one's going to run into it, but every once in a while, check on it and see if you see any eggshell or any bubbles, or just see what's going on, observe it. That's a big part of the scientific method, is observation throughout the whole experiment. So I'm going to leave mine on my bookshelf, and I will check back with you in 24 hours for the next step of our. Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of the Naked Egg Challenge. So today, all we need to do is we're going to change the vinegar out. So we're going to take a look at what's happening so far, and then what we'll need to do is we're going to empty out all of the vinegar that's in the egg now down the drain. I'm going to do this off camera. I'm going to be very careful putting the vinegar down the drain, making sure the egg doesn't fall out or break, and then I'm just going to refill it with some more vinegar, the exact same thing, and then leave it undisturbed, put it away somewhere the dogs can't get to it for 7 days. So today, I just want you guys to see what's happened so far, fill you on what I'm going to be doing off camera, and then we'll check back in 7 days to see what's happened, okay? So this is our egg on day 2. And as you can see, the entire egg is pretty much surrounded by little bubbles from the baking soda. And if we go to the top, you can see there is like bubbles forming, and there looks like there's something going on in there. I can't tell exactly what, but I know that there weren't this many bubbles, and I know they weren't all on top forming like a little foam when I first poured it in. So that's how the egg is looking on day 2. Like I said, today we're just replacing the vinegar. Kids, I would definitely recommend having your parents do this so you don't, vinegar can sometimes burn a little bit. So have your parents pour the vinegar down the sink, making sure not to rattle the egg, and then just refill the jar with more vinegar exactly the way it looks now. So that's it for day 2, and I'll see you guys in 7 days. We're gonna pour the vinegar out. I'm gonna do it in this bowl. You can do it over your sink, but I thought this would work better for showing you. And then we're gonna rinse it off with a little bit of water, just a little bit. And then we should have just the egg, the yolk, and the part around the yolk white. It won't be white, it'll be transparent because it only gets white when we cook it, but the shell should be completely gone. So let's see what happens. So I'm gonna empty out this vinegar and be very careful with my egg. Still got some bubbles on it, so I'm gonna just rinse it off a little bit. Just get those last little parts of the eggshell. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it over because I want you guys to be able to see this. So we have an egg with absolutely no eggshell on it. And you can see the yolk inside. If you look really hard, there's that yellow yolk. And I can actually squeeze on it like a rubber ball. I'm not gonna squeeze too hard because it's not super solidified. But you know, with regular eggs, we have to be really careful because any little eggshell drop crack the whole thing. But you have an invisible eggshell. All we needed was an egg and some vinegar. So I think this would be an awesome one for you guys to try at home. All you need is some vinegar and a jar and a little bit of patience. Let nature work its magic.